to get into this session. Is going to be a very powerful and empowering session. I have my guest here already, and without wasting time, I'm just going to bring her up so we can get straight into it. Um, so here we are with Mrs. Adiola Olumeyon. She's the executive director of MS8 CS Limited. She's such a powerful voice. I believe strongly that the world needs to hear her, truly, right? And it's a privilege to have you on this platform this evening, Ma. I want you to know that I truly appreciate you. Just for your information, so we have this session live on IG and as well as YouTube. Okay, so yeah, today we're talking about confidence blueprint, the blueprint for confidence and breaking free from um, imposter syndrome. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Just tell us, um, speak to us about imposter syndrome from your experiences and all of that. So over to you, Ma.
Thanks, Kemi. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I'm really excited to finally have this. And fun fact, when you first sent me this and said we should talk about imposter syndrome, I felt like an imposter because I felt, oh, I'm not over it. I still get those feelings that maybe I'm not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be where I am. So
Mm.
am I quite qualified to even be talking to anybody about imposter syndrome? So I guess imposter syndrome is that feeling where you feel inadequate, when you feel you don't have what it takes, and you feel like sometimes you feel because you want everything to go perfectly, you just think that when there's a small slip, then there's a big issue. So imposter syndrome can manifest in many ways. And I think it's something that affects mostly us women. Not that it doesn't affect other people or doesn't affect men as well, but I think it affects disproportionately a lot of women. And I've gone through a lot of this over the years. I'll give you an example. So over the course of my career, I've switched industries. And in spite of the fact that I've switched industries, every time I'm going to switch into another industry, I feel like an imposter all over again. So very recently, um, I went, well, I mean, not like this was about what, 2, 3 years ago. I had an interview in an industry that um, I had not worked in before. And even though I was already a very experienced lawyer, even though I knew my onions and I knew what I was bringing to the table, when I got to that room and they asked me, "You don't have experience in this sector, so why should we hire you?" You know, you would have thought that I would have been really prepared for that. And I was, but hearing them say it back to me was like an affirmation of, what are you doing in this room? Did you not know you shouldn't have been at this interview? And it felt incredibly belittling. Please don't get me wrong. I don't think they were wrong to ask me that. I think it was a good question. But I'm just saying that this is how imposter syndrome manifests. It can come up at any time, and it's something that affects you mentally and can be crippling. So sadly, when they said this to me and they asked me this question, everything that I had prepared flew out of my mind. This is me who always believes that when you want to change something, you want to change and bring change to an industry, then you need a fresh pair of eyes. You need a fresh perspective. You probably know the story of the Lego movie. Have you heard of the Lego movie and how the Lego movie came about? So the Lego movie came about. This was what happened. There was a young man, a young boy, I think he was about 8 years old or so at the time. He loved playing with Legos. And so he did animation and did some things with the Lego. Lego didn't find it funny. They felt, why are you trying to steal our mark? Why are you trying to steal our products? Why are you trying to arrogate it to ourselves? So they sued him, 8 years old, but they sued him, and when they sued this young man, the case had gone on for a number of years before they hired a new CEO. When they hired the new CEO, he was very curious. Why would we sue a young boy? And they told him all of these reasons. This is why we sued him. This is what he did, and all. And of course, immediately they said that to him. He, being someone who was not from the industry at all, he was someone who came from a totally different industry, from consulting. I think he came from McKinsey or something like that. His idea was totally different from all of them in the room. And for him, he felt, can we have a conversation with this child? And they did. Instead of us suing this boy, let's talk. And you know what they did? They sat down, asked this boy, why did you do this? And he said, look, every child that plays with the Lego does not play with that Lego brick just thinking of bricks. In his mind, he's thinking of all sorts of things. And so what he wanted to do was to act out his imagination and encourage others to do it. Long and short is that the Lego company partnered with this boy because of the foresight of an ED that came with a fresh perspective, that came from a different industry. They then went ahead and then they partnered with this boy. Today, the Lego movie is one of the biggest grossing movies of all times, especially for an industry like a toy industry, so much so that everybody else is doing it. The Emoji Movie has come out after that. Everybody's jumped into the fad. And I hear that it grosses them and makes them more money than the plastic bricks itself. So I've always believed that, think about GE and think about Jack Welch. So I've always believed that whenever you want to make a change in an industry, you must bring a fresh perspective, a fresh pair of eyes. And then the same me sits down in front of a panel and they're asking me, and I cannot KSA tell them this same story I told you, because the imposter syndrome came to me at that moment. And at that moment, I felt I truly did not belong here, and maybe somebody else should be offered the position. I did my best to answer the question, but even I beat myself up afterwards. So why did I share this story? Is to say there's no time you ever get over the feeling of the imposter syndrome. And it can show up at any time. Why? Because it's something that comes from your mindset. It's something that tells you that you're not adequate. It's something that says you're not enough. It's that feeling that makes you feel when even though you've worked hard, even though you've earned your stripes, perhaps maybe there's a little something in you that makes you not quite ready to take on the role. It's what limits us from volunteering for something fresh, for something different, from a new challenge. It makes us feel like, I don't think I'm ready. But you will never be ready. You will never be. Like what the post that I put on LinkedIn that Les Brown said, he said, all of us started from the same place. There is nobody that was born with clothes on their back, knowing how to speak, knowing what to say. Nobody. We all started from ground zero and then built up. So when you come with that understanding and you remind yourself that, you know what, every single person that I admire out there worked to get there. They were not born with it. Some of us are born with talent. I'm not taking away from that. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. But I'm saying that talent, as they say, is not enough. Even talent is not enough. So every time somebody comes into the room and you're faced with that crippling feeling of inadequacy, when you're faced with that crippling fear of maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe that's not quite what they need. It's those voices speaking to you, your fears that hold you back. And that's been one of the things that has helped me to know, you know what, this imposter syndrome is a feeling that is hardly ever going to go away, but it's something that I'd have to work with all of my life. And I mean, I have so many stories of how this is played out. Imposter syndrome has played out in the course of my life over many years. In an interview, I shared about missing a deadline. Why? Because I wanted it to be perfect. There was no other reason. I just wanted it to be perfect. And in wanting that project to go perfectly, I actually, when I think back, probably drove everybody off the wall, because I would go back and I would say, oh, I noticed, we haven't quite done this. You did this, you did it well, but we still need to add this to it. You still need that to it. You still need to add that to it. All of that is because I just felt only the best is what will qualify me. It's only when I've brought the best of it that I would feel qualified, that I'll feel good enough, that I'll feel like, yes, then I've earned the stripe,
I was
you know.
about to say that. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I was
So
about to say what you just said. You missed the timeline or the deadline because you wanted it to sort of validate you, because you felt like if it was perfect, then it's going to validate you. It's going to say yes, she deserves this. So it could be imposter syndrome being a craving in our heart, or in us typically, to be validated for who we are or for what we are. And it takes me back to um, the thing about identity and experiencing identity crisis, right? Because who you are is different from what you are. And there's this lady I follow on LinkedIn. She's called Caroline Wanga. She's called the Wanga Woman. And she says that who you are is who you are. If you don't try to change who you are for what you are. But if you're in a place and they don't seem to accept who you are, do not change who you are, change what you are. What you are is open to negotiation. It's open to um, change, right? But who you are at your core, that's your identity. You must not seek to try to find validation outside of yourself. And one thing that I also want people to realize is the fact that imposter syndrome is a psychological experience, right? So it's like the body's response to maybe dealing with success for some people, right? So it's a psychological experience. It's not validated. It's a feeling. It's a response. It's an experience. It's a feeling. And I say this to people a lot of times, that you see, feelings do not have any form of power, because as a mindset coach, one of the very profound things I picked on during my research is that every human has a minimum of 16,000 thoughts going through their brain, through their mind at every point in time. If you never validate them, either through speech, if you don't verbalize, nor act on your thoughts, they never become reality. So thoughts are free of charge. I can imagine that I'm the first lady of Nigeria. I can imagine that the president of of the United States of America. It's free. So imagine,
money is in my account.
exactly. I can imagine that I'm a man and not a woman. Identity crisis. So I can imagine, because imagination is free, and we underestimate the power of the mind and our perspectives many times. And many times, that's why they say that the battlefield is the mind. If you miss it, sometimes there are some battles that if you miss at the level of the mind, you actually do miss it. You'll get to that table, to that platform, and really question why you actually need to be there. Okay. But if who you are is secure in itself, you know, the status, the platforms, the recognitions, the award, they are part of what you are. Who you are is at the core. If everything else fails around you, you need to have something that you fall back on, which is who you are. You know, many people find this in God. They have an anchor. Who you are is your anchor, what you fall back on eventually. So it doesn't matter what changes regarding what you are. If you lose your job, it doesn't define you. If you deserve a seat and you lost it, right? And then imposter syndrome comes because you didn't deserve to be there. Everyone needs an anchor, something that you fall back on, and you always fall back on who you are. Now, your identity, like I said, some people find that in God. You have a spiritual identity, or you find that in, I mean, whatsoever. So, for someone like me, of course, it's definitely be God. So you have an anchor that you fall back on, such that when what you are changes, because if you imagine your life as a concentric circle, right? Who you are is at the center, then you're surrounded with what, and then you have a how around it as well. And then you have a why, and you have a why around it. So if everything else fails, right, it falls back to who you are at your core. Your status does not define you. Your role at work does not define you, in the sense that the core of who you are as a person, right? So again, back to the topic, because my tendency to be a mindset coach is dragging me, you know. Back to the topic about what's it called? Imposter syndrome. It's a psychological experience. It's your body's response, you know. So we start with that, validating that this feeling is existing. It is one of those 16,000 thoughts that I expect to go through my mind every day. However, no thought is finds expression in reality if I do not verbalize or I do not act on it. So the process will usually be thoughts, that's feelings, thoughts, words, and action. Feelings, thoughts, words, and action. That's the cycle to complete the materialization in reality. So if thoughts come to you, as long as you do not verbalize it, right, they won't find expression in reality, and as long as you don't also act upon it. If you let imposter syndrome sit in, it goes beyond just that thought process, and it enters the cycle of you verbalizing it. Oh, I don't actually deserve this. I don't so no matter how strong you feel that syndrome, that psychological experience, when it comes, you're on that table maybe with the president or United States. You know, I keep repeating this, so maybe it's coming, it's happening, right? You know, and you feel it, you know, okay, you recognize that, okay, this is imposter syndrome. But even the best of the best have confirmed that they actually experienced it at one phase of their life. And Ms. Ladiola also just confirmed that she has accepted that this thing is going to be here for a long time. It's just that I have to develop capacity to actually deal with it when it comes. It's actually a sign of growth. That's one of the things I found out doing my research. So once you once you recognize it and validate that feeling, but control comes in place where you say, hey, this is just a feeling, any thought never comes to find expression in reality until I verbalize it or act on it. So I'm not going to open my mouth and say, hey, you want to start the conversation. So they give you the mic and say, I know I don't deserve to be here. No, error. You never verbalize it. Oh, nothing qualifies me to be here. Error. You never verbalize it. So let it stay at the within that atmosphere of just being a thought and a feeling. And you know what? Over time, you just learn how to normalize it. Powerful word. So what you do with imposter syndrome is actually to normalize it. Now, before I pass it back on to Mrs. Adiola, so she shares further experience with that. I think one of the ones I will point out is my first time on TV, on live TV, right? As a child, I've always wanted to be on TV. And I just loved when I see speakers, you know, on TV, and I would rehearse in front of a mirror and all of that. And I remember the very first day I got the opportunity to speak on the live TV, which happened to be a global one for that matter. I had every reason to question being there. You know, my drive to that station, I kept thinking, what qualified you to be here? You are going to be on global TV. Do you know what it takes for other people and things like that? So I questioned it and I thought I was going to freeze on air. I'm going to freeze on air and mess up, you know, but I didn't. And guess what? Today I've experienced several live TV experiences, and it's a normal thing. Now, I do not have imposter syndrome when I'm going on TV, right? But I still experience imposter syndrome for certain things. So over time, what you do is you just um, gain the power, right? Or you empower yourself to normalize the feeling and the experience. And you could cross correct it by declaring with your mouth, oh, I deserve to be on this table. You speak positive words to yourself. I deserve to be on this table. Nobody else. If not me, then who? That's one of my quotes. If not me, then who? I deserve to be here. So you keep verbalizing the opposite of how you are feeling, and that's how you actually materialize what reality is. All right. So yeah, that's my own personal experience. I'm going to pass it back to Mrs. Adiola now. Yeah. So I remember that you talked about how you got this board experience, where I think you were the only female um, in that board, and you had men with, of course, experiences. Let's not even come to that because it's not a gender meeting. So women would tend to be what's it called, gaslighted, right? When you get to certain levels of power or positions, right? So there's that sitting, and then you now add imposter syndrome that is coming from yourself. So how, from experience, have you been able to navigate that? I know that you're a very humble person at your core, so but I mean, let it out for us. Yeah, over to you, Ma.
So it just before I go on to share that experience, also wanted to say how I personally have coped with imposter syndrome. I think three things that I do. First, I laugh at myself. I don't take myself too seriously anymore because, the truth is we're only here for a short time. You can't be here forever. And not just the fact that you're not here forever, the fact is, if you take yourself seriously at the end of the day, you end up going through life being totally unhappy. So learn to laugh, learn to go through issues, and don't internalize everything to the point where it's crippling. You always make mistakes, but that's only because you're human. Everyone makes mistakes. So I've learned to laugh at myself. I've learned to um, do whatever. I've learned to laugh at myself a lot of times. And just say, you know what, you're going through your human experience. So, and also one of the things that I've also learned to do is to do my best. To do my best all of the time. So I've learned to be prepared. Be prepared. One thing I've found is that when you're prepared, it helps. Preparation helps you to still your mind. It helps to bolster your confidence. So whenever you have an opportunity, prepare yourself. I mean, first thing is volunteer. And then afterwards, we'll go and figure out how we're going to do it. Surround yourself also. That's another thing that I do with quality people who, and they don't have to be a lot. You don't have to have, I mean, I find that the more successful you are, the fewer friends you naturally would have. You won't have so many people. I guess it's just a natural way with life, and you won't find so many egos flocking together. You just won't find when you have success. I don't know many presidents or many people who've made a lot of success in life and can say that they have even up to 10 friends that they have. No. So you would always have just a core group of people. I mean, there's a man that I like his story a lot. His name is David, and he's in the Bible for those who believe in the Bible. And it talks about David and his mighty men. They're just very few people, and they listed them. So you always only have a few people who make up your core. Those people can be your sounding board. They can be people who pray with you, people who remind you. And then lastly, I remind myself of the journey. I remind myself, you did this, you did that, you worked on this, you worked on that, you achieved this, you achieved that, so you deserve this, you deserve to be there. So I speak to myself, and I'm not afraid to have the people who are around me who are my core. One caution, though, one caution that I always give is the higher you go, the more successful you become, the more you have to roll back on speaking. Why do I say this? The more you say, the more vulnerable you are. Once you open up your mouth, you tell the world who you are. Once you open up your mouth, you tell them what you want to do. That information, information is power. That information can be used to bless you, it can be used to hurt you. So you always, always have to be careful. If you have an imposter syndrome or you have feelings of inadequacies, like every human being does, because all of us face doubts from time to time. That is the summary of what imposter syndrome is. Excuse me. The summary of it is it's basically a feeling of doubt, of inadequacy, and everyone experiences it from time to time. It only gets crippling, only becomes that syndrome when you're not able to take decisions that are beneficial to you because you let yourself be held back. So for me, you have to be careful what information you're sharing. You have to vet those that you're going to trust it to. You don't cast your pearls before swine. You don't tell everybody what is in you, what you are planning, what you want to do, how you are feeling. Sometimes don't even when they say, "Are you okay?" Perfect. I'm fine. You have to learn to be quiet. You have to learn when to speak. So let's come back to the board. So this board that I sat on, it was a very diverse board. It was a board that there were only two women who were on the board. And there were a lot of people. Almost everybody was a political appointee. And you know what that means? It means not everybody, in my opinion, not everybody on the table I won't pick everybody on that table if I were going to look for competency. But Nigeria is what it is. And you do have to ensure we have national character in the room. So it doesn't matter why the person is there. They are there and they take it very seriously. For them, for a number of people on that board, they were carrying on their shoulders the misrepresentation of the people that is now being corrected. So they come into the room sort of defensive. So anyway, we had finished this assignment and we had just two more meetings to go before we needed to then make a presentation, and then submit it to the minister. And then the chairman of the meeting then said, "We've gone through this. We've had our fights. We've done all of this over the years. I think we were there for a little over a year." And said, "So let's all, just do an assessment of how we've done, and then talk about things, how you feel, so that when we close out on this, there are no hurt feelings, And then I sat down there in total shock when the men in the room started. Oh my, it was bloody, KSA. It was bloody. Men went at each other's throats. This man would come and then he would say, "This man, the truth is, you're not qualified to be here. You have nothing to offer. You are here only because of this. You're here only because you know that. You are here because you slept with this person. Secrets." Secrets were coming out, and I'm thinking there must have been a meeting before this meeting. It's not possible that all of us walked into this meeting and this is what we walk into. It was total all out war, and it seemed like with each man the venom increased. I have told you that that board is mostly political appointees, mostly, not all, but mostly. Now, with politics in Nigeria, it means that people have sides naturally. It means that you're either aligned in one way or the other. And scoping the the battlefield that was red with blood, if you know what I mean, not physical blood, but I'm saying hurt egos. I could see wounded people all around the room. I told myself I was not going to play this game. And this is why my philosophy is that when you go into a fight with a man, when you are a woman and you go into a fight with a man as a man, you lose the fight. I'm going to say it again. When you are a woman and you go into a fight with a man as a man, you lose the fight.
Wow. Yeah,
But
go
when
ahead.
you go into a fight with a man as a woman, he loses the fight. When you fight with a man as a woman, the man loses the fight. When you fight with a man as a man, you lose the fight. Because you can't fight the way a man would fight. Men are brutal. They don't, when a man is hurt, when a man feels threatened, he will do whatever it takes. And I can assure you that there are only very few women who get to that point of being able to do whatever it takes. So when you go into the fight and your stance is that of a man, he will deal with you as a man. But when you go into the room and you are going into a fight, he knows he's going to fight with you. You know you both are here to fight. But when you fight like a woman, the natural man will fight with you, but he will not fight with you the way he would fight with a man. And you see, when he will not fight with you the way he will fight with a man, you've already gained advantages. And that advantage is something that you should never lose as a woman. So, how do you fight with a man?
Mm. Yeah.
Anyway,
The woman advantage or the
the
feminine
woman,
advantage.
absolutely, absolutely. So for that meeting, I decided, you know what? I removed my armor and I removed my headgear in my head. I mean, not that I was wearing a headgear. I removed it. I removed the armor. And then I told myself, today I'm sitting down here as a woman who is in the midst of all of you. And you know what happened? There was another woman. I told you there were two women in the room, me and another lady. She had chosen a side. So once her own side was attacked, she decided, definitely, this is something she's going to do. She's going to make sure that her people know that she's loyal to them, So she went and she attacked them. Hearsay. When it was the turn to give the feedback on this woman, she could not stay in the room. They told her who she had slept with.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, is it true? I don't know. I don't know whether it's true or it's not true, but this was a married woman, and you as a married woman, you never want to hear somebody telling you that you are there and you've been sleeping with men. And he said, "Look, what you that you are talking? Who does not know that you wear so and so and so and so size of bra? Who does not know? Who does not know that this and this and this is the reason why you are here?" And then they talked about other things. Take an example, a recent example that happened with Oshiomole and the Edo State governor's wife. she said something. She said, look, vote for a candidate that has a wife, because that's the only time we women can be represented in government house. And look at what Oshomole responded with. He said, oh, yes, you might say you don't want her as a woman. You might say you want women, but guess what? Even children rejected you. You are barren. I mean, that was hurtful. But that's a man. That is a man. That is how a man fights. He fights. Anyway,
Sure.
so
Yeah,
yes,
especially a
men,
desperate man.
especially a desperate man. A desperate man is the worst person to go with as a woman. And you say, oh,
Head on,
yeah, come, let us fight.
head on.
So there were all sorts of things that
Let
happened.
me pause you there. You're going to continue, like, but I recall, just like immediately you mentioned that story. Recall a story that my mentor usually said to me. He said there are two ways to kill a lion. This is a very powerful story. So if you are listening to this, I want you to pay attention to it. It's a lot of power, and it relates very deeply with what Mrs. Adeo is speaking about now. Says that there are two ways to kill a lion. One, you go head on with a lion, and the chances that you're going to be successful in defeating a lion is very slim. It's very slim, except you are. Who was the person that defeated? Is it Samson or right?
Samson and
Except with
David.
Samson, yeah, it's there's a high chance that you go head on with a lion, it's going to defeat you. He said the second way to kill a lion is to starve the lion. Powerful. If there's no prey to feed on, that the lion is going to die. If you offer yourself as a prey by going head on with him, the chance that you're going to survive is very slim, almost impossible. So you do not offer yourself up as a prey, because if there's nothing to prey on, they would starve. The lion is going to starve and die. There's a lot of wisdom in that, and very few people know how to use this to their advantage. The goal is when something hits your feeling, hits your emotions, and because we're emotional people as females now, you want to go head on. And something powerful you said, you try to fight with a man. As a man, you're going to lose that fight. So remember this analogy about the lion as well. Because we're saying man, man, man. You think he's not a human being. How would I be scared of human being? So if you remember the the analogy of the lion, you can easily tie it to what Mr. Deola is saying right now. So the um you starve the lion of prey to feed on, and that way is going to die. Every bad news has a lifespan of 90 days. Once you don't feed it, it's not a fire. It's going to die a natural death in 90 days. These statistics, right? So if you want to respond, you want to react rather, you want to react. No, I didn't do it. Like that woman's case where they said, you think I don't know the size of your what you wear and stuff like that. That's ridiculous. If you go head on and you say, me, no, that's not the size, that's not this and all of that, you've messed up. You added more fire. You've offered yourself up as a prey to the lion. How you deal with the lion to kill the lion and be more successful is actually to starve the lion and ensure that you're not offering yourself up as a prey. So powerful. I wanted to drop that down, drop that here, even as you gave that analogy, and it ties in perfectly to what you're saying, right? Yeah, so you can go ahead, mom.
Perfectly, because indeed my strategy was to starve the lion. I did not act in
Awesome.
the way yes, I didn't act or respond or react to all of the things that they said. And look, don't get me wrong. It's not that um people didn't try to say a few things initially when we started. But what they first of all did was, they responded to the other people that had called them out. And of course, the woman, once she responded, they called her out as well. So sadly, she didn't finish that meeting with us. She actually left the room in tears. And the men didn't care. Strangely, I mean, well, not strangely, if you understand how men are. When we finished that meeting, men were hugging. because they understand how it works. They don't take things to heart and internalize it the way a woman would internalize it. So, what was my own strategy? And to your point of don't feed the lion, what I did was I first of all started by thanking each person by name. I thanked them for their cooperation when we were when during the time when we worked together. I thanked them for the times when we had misunderstandings, and then they told me how they felt instead of taking to heart. I told them, how I appreciated that sometimes we had misunderstandings, but it just didn't go beyond what it was professionally. Let's get the work done and all that. And I thanked them that in all of the things that everybody has said today, what I have enjoyed has been the cooperation. Did I have disagreements with people? Were there things that I didn't agree with? Yes, there were. But you know what? If I had done the same thing that all the men and that lady had done, the same thing would have happened. So, what I did instead was to thank each person. And then I brought what I thought were the solutions to the things that we needed to do, because that was what the chairman wanted us to do in the first place. We were supposed to say, what are our thoughts? How do we go? About things right now. What are we going to do going forward? And then just everybody talk about how you feel. So I went straight to the issue. Again, that's another thing that women, well, we're not talking to only women, but I'm just saying this for women because we feel the imposter syndrome a lot more. Please, please, please learn how to put your point across. Don't react to everything that you hear. Sometimes people say things to you because they know that as a woman you are emotional and they want you to react as a woman. Once you give them that power, you lose the fight. Don't
Yeah.
react immediately and say, this and that. And Kesa, you heard me share the story before of how somebody attacked me in a room. And my response to him was, I focused. Those that know me know me. There's something I always say: focus on your focus. I focus on your focus. Why are we here? What do we want to achieve? There's no time to go around, and try and be anything that you're not. Focus on your focus. So
Hmm.
that was what I did during that meeting. And by the time we finished that meeting, it brought healing because after I spoke, nobody else wanted to continue the bloodbath. The chairman thanked me very much for stemming that bloodbath because he was not going to step in. When men are fighting, they know that, let each person have it. It's a man's fight. Let them rip it out. So what he did was he thanked me very much because after I said that, no other person wanted to continue the bloodbath. Again, each man felt validated, they felt appreciated, and so other people remembered some of their contributions, that it's true, it's that man wasn't all that bad. There are times when he did this, there were times when he did that, which helped to bring the meeting back to a place where we could still finish as a team. And guess what? That also helped me because a couple of months down the line, one of the men that I worked with on that team recommended me for my second ministerial committee appointment. And that's only because one learns how to act. So when you get into a room and what the only thing that you think about is that you want to prove yourself, it's a good thing. It's a good
Hmm.
thing. Helps with the imposter syndrome, but there's a danger to it that you prove yourself, but you have no value with anyone. So all they see is someone who comes there to throw himself or herself around. It's good, but prove yourself to your mind, but provide value to others. When you provide value to others consistently, those people also form part of those that remind you of who you are. I had an interview many years back, many years back, and the person said, "I read your CV. I've spoken to you, and you've said a lot of wonderful things. We've seen your work, and we're excited about it. But there's a danger with people like you. You think that you are all that, and then you become difficult to work with. So, if I were to ask people who know you and who work with you, and if I were to ask them, who are you? What will they say?" And that's what you need to remember. You see, there's nothing worse than having an imposter syndrome, and you look around, and those voices that you hear are voices that re-emphasize that you truly don't deserve to be in the room. But when you are somebody who's consistently provided value to others, you've consistently given value to people, when those feelings of inadequacy come up, you will always find people who, from time to time, will drop a message. One of my closest friends once shared a post about me on LinkedIn. I was shocked. I woke up in the morning and there was my picture and she was celebrating me. I haven't spoken to her in a long time. And there she was celebrating me. I was humbled. When I left channels, people would ring me on the phone and they would say, "You did this, you did that, you said this to me, you said that to me." And in the journey of being a director at Emmett Hill, that has been helpful because there are times when you're asking yourself, am I quite sure I know what I'm doing here? I cannot tell you, there are not times when I've looked back and thought, is this a good idea? But to hear people say, "Congratulations, I know that you will do well. You have done this, you have done that," they help. I started to catalog a lot of those things. And I was really, really touched and grateful. So validate yourself, but always provide value for others. That also helps to strengthen you in the times when you feel inadequate. So those are some of the things that I would say. And I will not keep quiet about saying that the place of faith is important. Just like you said, that your anchor is always God. And honestly, there is nothing that beats having that anchor when everything else around you does not make sense. It's always good to have that anchor. So my own tips would always be laugh, be don't take yourself too seriously. You've made this mistake. Well, another one will happen. And that's the
This
truth.
powerful thing that you said, and I have Christiana Bankole putting it up on YouTube, is super amazing. I just feel like I need to emphasize it. Prove yourself to your mind, but provide value to others. That's so powerful. So
Absolutely.
when you walk into your a room and the tendency for you is just to want to prove yourself, it's because of that inner seated lack of insecurity, actually.
Mhm.
And that's the thing
Absolutely.
that we, yeah. And you wanting to prove validation that yes, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be
Mhm.
here. So
Boss
you're
lady.
trying to fight yourself
Mhm.
within yourself, right? But then let your focus be in actually providing value to others while you try to prove yourself to your mind or to yourself. But think about providing value to others. And it takes me back as well to the point that we raised initially at the start of the conversation, where I talked about um, at the start of the conversation, where I talk about who you are and what you are. What you have might have gotten you, to that point. It's about the what. It's about the what. But at the end of the day, the who takes priority. And at the background of that, the backbone of that who is that genuine understanding that, see, seated in this room are human beings like myself. And just seeing everybody, one of the things I say is that the greatest value of existence is the human value. It's not $10 million. There's nobody on this call that if they say, I'll give you $10 million now, but after 1 hour, I will take your breath from you. If they give you $10 billion in one hand, and the other the what's called the criterion is that they will take your life in the other hand, you can't place them on the same scale. The human value, the life, is the greatest value of existence, right? Even if you say $1 billion, nobody will say take my soul for $1 billion, but let me enjoy $1 billion for 1 hour or one day. Nobody won't take that. So you can't even put it on the same scale. That's how valuable every life is. So when you walk into the room, and as long as there are human beings seated there, you recognize the fact that, okay, every one of us, and back to Les Brown's quotes, where you said Les Brown's quotes that talked about how every single one of us came to this earth naked with nothing. We came here with nothing, right? Everybody became who they are as a virtue of either knowledge or whatever circumstance they've exposed themselves to. But at the end of the day, there's a equal platform for us. There's an equity of being human, whether we like it or not. So when you walk into a room, right, understand that it's human beings that are here. I'm not yet to come and prove some superiority, right? And give, you think of value exchange. So you think about sharing value or communicating value to them. Forget about if all that battle of do I deserve to be here? How do I look? Is my hair perfect? Let it be how you prove yourself to your mind. But once you walk into the room and there are other people there, right? Concentrate on actually providing value to others. And people will remember how you make them feel much more than the things that you say to them. Trust me. My first encounter of Mrs. Adeola here, to be honest, I can't remember what you were wearing. I know you were looking very beautiful as you are today. I can't remember what you were wearing that day. I can't remember all the things you said, except that one statement that hit me hard. And I felt that intersection. So, can you still hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I have my screen freezing here, but so people will remember how you make them feel much more than the words that you say, and that's so key. Recognize the human value, and this is one of my commitment. My commitment is to push through that narrative of the human value, that every life is worthy of being loved and being valuable, basically. So yeah, back to you, Mrs. Adiola. I like one other thing that you mentioned, and it takes me back to the place of integrity, right? Integrity, because you said something, I saw it silently and I was able to pick it out, right? So in that boardroom that you had, right, if you were even going to engage, right, or react, the place of integrity, being a person of integrity, just being a person that, okay, at the core of who I am, I'm in a position to actually, if at all I have to challenge this person, right? What is the place of integrity in proving yourself, if at all you have to prove yourself to others? Even though we have emphasized the fact that the core should be on providing value to others. But if you find yourself in a place where,
Hi, Cassie.
can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Oh, I'm having some network issue here, but I think it's back now. Can you hear me now?
Yes. I
Okay,
can't
so
see you,
what is the
but I can
place?
hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to speak to us briefly on the place of integrity and being a person of integrity, such that even if you fail at certain things, if you fail the test on why you qualify to be in certain positions, but nobody will be able to take away your integrity from you. Nobody will be able to take, no, but this person is a good person, or this person um, You were saying that the men eventually, when you calm the room down, right? You now were able to kind of like the ego, you were able to kind of like, their ego, and they say, okay, this person has actually done something. This person has already done something, right? So at that point, being able to fall back on integrity, what's the place of integrity when you find yourself in a room like that and just being a person of integrity?
So, Kese, before I answer that, let's just make a distinction. Because a lot of times I find that we mix up integrity with character. And there's a difference between the two. Integrity is that person that you are, the who that you are. Whether or not people are watching you, whether or not people know, whether or not they will ever find out anything, something you've said, something you've done, integrity is you, the person you are on your inside. If there was no consequence for an action that you are going to take, if there were, if there's nothing that will be done to you, who are you? That's what integrity is. So if you could steal $1 billion and two things: one, nobody would ever know that you stole, and two, even if anyone ever knew that you stole that money, nobody would be able to challenge you. There will be absolutely no consequence. Would you steal that $100 million or $100 billion? Would you? That is integrity. Character, on the other hand, is who people think that you are, what they think of you. When I think about KSA, who do I think that she is? And a lot of times what I find is people are more interested in their character than their integrity. People are more particular about their preserving who they present to others that they are than who they actually are. So, if we're going to answer your question, are we going to answer on the basis of character or on the basis of integrity? Because when you say, oh, people remembered this person had done this and integrity spoke up, it's only because I was talking about the character of the people that came out to me. It was
All
my
right.
integrity that made me say that I would be truthful about the good that each person has done, instead of the approach that everybody did, where they only talked about the bad that other people have done. So, but to the question on how would I have responded if I needed to say something at all, in this particular instance, I would have done it respectfully. I wouldn't, I would have disagreed respectfully. I believe that when you honor people, when you respect people, you you take away that, what's the word? You take away the weapon that they intended to use to destroy you.
Against you. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Powerful.
So if I were going to respond, I would have responded with respect. I would have responded with appreciation, and I would have responded with honoring each of them. Nobody wants to be criticized. Nobody likes to be criticized. We've learned how to take criticisms, but it doesn't mean that we like it in particular. We've learned how to adjust to criticisms, but it does not mean that we're doing hoops when somebody criticizes us. So if I were going to respond at all to that particular, in that particular instance, if I had to say something, and I did, don't get me wrong, it's not that I didn't say what I didn't like about what had gone on, but I started out with appreciating each person and reminding them of how they've helped me in the past, and their contributions towards the journey that I remember personally. And then I spoke about the solutions that I thought we should have. And of course, in saying that, some of it meant that some people dropped the ball at some point or the other, but it was easier for them to take. So, what my response would be, whenever you are going to say something to someone, say it respectfully. When you're going to disagree with them, say it respectfully. And that will take me to share that story that you've heard before. I was leading a project team. Our client for a building, it was a multi-million naira, in hundreds and hundreds of millions of naira. And the client at the time was going to give advance money to all of the people that were going to do the contractors that were involved. And because he was going to do that, what we said is, in that case, then that money needs to be secure. You don't want to give somebody money and then that person goes and marries another wife, or runs off to Canada, and then you can't find him, or he uses it to pay his children's school fees, and then he tells you inflation has come. So we asked everyone to please submit, to all the contractors, I mean, to please submit two bonds, an advance payment bond and a performance bond, which they could have easily gotten. And everyone was happy to do so except this particular man. For I don't know whatever reasons, he just felt that I shouldn't have asked him for that. And we had gone back and forth on this, and he was holding up the entire project. So I'd make the call and said, you know what, we're going to have to remove this contractor from this project. He wasn't at the meeting, his staff was, and of course, the staff told him that this is what Adela Olumeyon said, and he was furious. He called me on the phone and he just went off. I didn't say a word to him. When he finished, he said, "Are you there?" I said, "I am." I didn't say, I was seething, but I didn't say a word. And of course, when I was not engaging him, what else was there to do? But he hung up on me. I went and I told the client, we're having serious issues with this person. So they called the head of the team. And that's the head of the technical team, the architect in the project. And then we had a meeting in that room. Again, I was the only woman in the room. I was also leading the project team on the side of the clients. Now, the person leading the technical team, the architect and all that, they were there. The client was there as well. And this man came himself. And when he started, they asked him to start, everybody's going to give this thing. Oga, what is the problem? Why don't you want to give this thing, your bond? And he started out by saying, first, he's going to say that when he started his company, he's sure that at that time I was probably either not yet born or was still in diapers. And then he went on to say how his youngest daughter is a highly successful medical doctor in the US. And he's read my profile, and he knows that I'm just a lawyer who is educated here in Nigeria. And here I am telling him that I intend to toss him out of a project. What an insult, you know? And as he said those things to me, I was looking around. At first, I was upset, extremely upset and shocked. And I was looking around thinking somebody would have said something to say, Oga, I mean, come on, is that why we're here? But you know what?
Mm.
They just let him rip. He just went on. And I don't want to have to recall some of the other things he said, but those two in particular were particularly upsetting for me. And no man in the room thought what he said was inappropriate. Nobody said anything. So when he finished, they said, "Okay, well, we understand how you feel, sir." And just before they were going to apologize to him and not to me, because I mean, I was in shock. Like, I'm sorry, what was that? Are you just about to apologize to him and not to me? I then spoke up and I said, I'd like to thank him very much for everything that he said. The first thing is I'd like to acknowledge publicly that I believe that his firm is a very good firm. If I didn't think so, we would not have shortlisted them in the first place. I applaud the things that he's achieved and what he's led his firm to do over the years. Indeed, they've achieved many things that no other contractor, and we have enjoyed working with them. And I was really looking forward to working with them. With that's his firm. And I said, and I congratulate him also on the success of his daughter and all his other children, as I'm sure all of them are successful. I said, having said all of this, the truth though is that none of these successes will guarantee my client's money. So can we now move to the point where he can share how he intends to guarantee the client's money? It was like a light bulb. I didn't insult him. I just said, everything you said, it has no bearing on what we're talking about here. And guess what? The client immediately say, yes, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I mean, yeah, you have done very well, but my money, my money. And everybody in the room came back. And then the head of the team then said, sir, what you said was so wrong. There was no reason why you should have said that to her, and we think you should apologize. And then everybody else nodded, and they forced him to apologize. And the only reason why that happened is I responded to him with respect. They saw that and they were willing to defend me. If I had responded to him in anger, if I had said, I will not take that, you don't speak to me that way, this is a professional meeting, and I could have done that as well. And if anyone takes that approach or that tact, I'm not saying that it is wrong. It's just not my approach. Honestly, most likely they would have let us at each other's throats. And then at some point they would have said, okay, calm down, calm down, calm down. But taking that higher approach where you're looking at things and you're focused on what needs to be done, it helps people to see that, you deserve to be in the room. You deserve to lead the team. And that was what everybody said. And, I did not have any problems with anyone after that on that project. Everybody heard that response. They heard what he said and they were shocked. And so it got to a stage where, they will call me Ma. These are men that are way older than me. They'll call me Ma when I walk into the room. Why? Respect and honor. So that for me is part of my own integrity. I will not intentionally disrespect you. I will not intentionally drag you. But if I must stand my ground, I will say it with facts and figures. Again, I'm a fact and figures person. I believe in that statement that in God we trust. All others, please bring data. So I will use facts and figures that is verifiable, part of integrity, to respond to a situation. I will not attack or malign your person, especially in a professional environment, because as far as I'm concerned, it's neither here nor there, whatever you do in your personal life. What we're here to discuss is your capacity. And so I will use facts and figures. If I have to destroy somebody in a room, KSA, you don't want to go against me. I will use facts and figures. That's what I will do. I will
Wow.
use and figures to present my case. And that's a language that I also know that resonates in boardrooms. Facts and figures. Stay out of people's character. Stay out of character maligning. As especially, I'm speaking especially to the women who are listening to us. You can't fight that fight with a man. When you are going to fight, facts, figures, stay out of character. Use that as the anchor for your benchmark and for the speech that you will give. Be respectful, because when you are respectful, you whip other people, you whip other people's loyalty to you. They give you the kind of respect that they will not give if you were someone who they considered crass. Because guess what? It's difficult to rein yourself in and to control yourself. You know who does that? Generals. They've learned not to react. A general will not react, he will respond. And so when you act and respond with facts and figures, you show the people in the room that you are a general. And what happens? They respect you. They respond back to you with respect.
Amazing. Amazing. We have a question, and I'm going to post it up right now. It's from Idowu Opelua Philip, and it says, Is there a right way to make your case and a wrong way to make it, even when you are in the right?" Oh, sorry, it's not a question. I read that as though it was a question. So he's saying that, I think he's just trying to reemphasize what you mentioned about there's a right way to make your case and a wrong way to make it, even when you are in the right. Wow, amazing. So it's been an interesting conversation so far. I just want to let you know all that. If you have a question, please post it on the YouTube page, right? So that Mrs. Adiola can respond to it. In the meantime, I'd like to read some of the comments we have here. The YouTube page is literally buzzing, right? I know that we are not able to see comments from IG Live. So regardless, if you have a question there, you could post it there, and I have an assistant that's just going to pick it up and post it. But I'll read some of the amazing things that have been said here so far. Ifeolu Akimeye says, always respond with respect. And I think I had put up something earlier. Yes. You said this actually. When you honor people, you take away the weapon they could have used against you. That's amazing. Many people like their egos to be pampered, especially men, right? And this is maybe for anybody that is married here or you're in a relationship with a man. This is one life lesson for marriage, for couples, right? When you honor people, you take away the weapon that they could have used against you. If you learn how to um, massage the ego of people or just honor them, it doesn't mean that you should become a timid person or a walkover, right? But there's a lot of power in that. Always respond with respect. I think I already read Okwe's feedback, and then there was a comment about the language of boardrooms is facts and figures. Wow. Stay out of people's character, respect people to gain people's loyalty. Whoa, respect people to gain people's loyalty. So if you're Lua, yeah, just saying emoticon. Then there's a question here that says, how did you grow to respond positively to this situation, or were you always this way? I mean, I believe it's your last analogy about the man that spoke to you in a condescending way.
Christiana, I definitely was never like this. I've been everything from the crying person. I've been the person who is upset and responding and screaming and shouting. But life humbles you. Life humbles you. And after a while, you realize that there's the objective that you need to achieve and the frustration of not being able to achieve it, because even though you are right and everybody knows that you are right, they just will not be there for you. They will not support you. They will not work with you. I had to find a way to work with people. I had to find a way to work with people. So I do a lot of introspection. I'm also someone who I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be in charge of my career. I was speaking to KSA earlier, and I was telling her that I don't believe in equality between the sexes, men and women. I don't. But I believe in equity. So I've always wanted to be in a place where I'm fairly treated, fairly remunerated. But that journey caused me to realize that men and women speak different languages. They respond to things differently based on their understanding. And that was what helped me. I started to learn Manese. KSC has heard me use that before. I started to learn what is called Manese. And
this place you are going to, I want you to get
we won't,
there.
we
Everybody,
will wait, we will wait.
including the men and the women. I'm sure some of us are hearing that word for the first time. My knees, right? Honestly, oh, they're trying to get the spelling of that.
It's a kind word. It's a kind word. It's
Oh,
yes,
it's a kind word, right? My
yes.
knees.
It's something that I
It's
coined from
unique.
like Chinese. Instead of saying Chinese, Japanese, I say
Learn my
Manese.
knees. Oh,
Yes.
good. So good. Please go
And
ahead.
one of the first things, okay, we promise we're not going there, right? Because we're late.
No, no,
So we
no.
won't,
I
oh, you
said I
want
want you to go there. I
to
said I
touch
want
on
you
it.
to go
Okay.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Manese has a language. What I found is that men have a code that they don't deviate from. If they have to, they will, but usually they don't deviate from this. One of the first code of conduct for men is respect. Respect is important for a man. A man would respect another man, especially if he walks. I mean, when you see men walk into the room, they don't do what women do, where they size you up and then they're giving you the nasty look. No, they do size each other up. And if a man feels this man is higher than me in the pecking order, maybe because of how he's dressed or how people are responding to him, he will naturally call him boss, chairman. He might not know him, but he will respect him. He will respect who he
Hmm.
is. Us women are not always like that. I mean, I've had people who come to my LinkedIn, somebody who finished in maybe 2008 or I don't know. And sometimes they say things and I'm like, wow, okay, you might want to look at that again. I sometimes read Twitter and I see how people talk to other people without any form of respect.
Respect.
Naturally, men would respect other men. Men would also respect women. You know, I know that we are training men. Us women are training men not to show us respect anymore, sadly. And that's conversation for another day. But naturally, men value respect. That is one of the languages of Manese, respect. Appreciation is a language of Manese. They want to be appreciated for whatever efforts that they bring into it. When you appreciate a small effort, he will double up on it. When you appreciate a bigger effort, and this even in marriage, this happens, a man will double up on it. So I learned that when I'm speaking to women and when I'm speaking to men, they're reacting to me and responding to me differently. And that's how I started to learn Manese. And sometimes I'll ask my dad before I got married. I'll ask him certain questions. He will answer me. I'll ask my husband. He would answer me. And I started to learn, oh, okay. So when I want to get something from you, and I present it in this way, I will get this reaction. When I present it in this way, I get this reaction. And so I learned if I want consistently get this particular reaction, or I want to achieve my objective and achieve it faster, I switch to my knees when I'm speaking to a man. I speak to him with respect. I appreciate whatever efforts that he's put into it, or I expect him to put into it. I show gratitude and I'll save the rest. So, yes, to answer that question, that's how I learned. I learned it by responding, by wanting to see results. As you grow up higher in your career, you want to achieve results. You want to achieve the results as fast as possible. You don't have time to pamper, to pet people. So, but when you know how to get people to do what you need them to do, you won't have to go far. And guess what? When it gets to that point, both men and women treat you like a general. Nobody says that. Nobody values that. Do you understand? Nobody says, oh, you are a general, you are our general. But it's their reaction to you when you are not there, but they will fight for you. You are not there, but they will stand for you. They will then respond to you with what is called loyalty, which is another manise. Men appreciate loyalty. So when you start to speak that word, they will pick you every time they have to pick a team. When they know that you are loyal, you're respectful, they will, you know how they do when they want to play football and they are picking their teams. They will always pick the people that they know will help them score or will do well. So whenever they need to pick a team, it's the same thing in the corporate world. When they need to pick a team, they'll pick a team with this person that feels like them. You don't have to
Yeah,
look like them.
comfortable with.
Yes, they're comfortable with. And it's that person that responds and understands, the way it is. And part of that is when you feel that, what, this person is ahead of me, don't start doing I beg, I don't care. Excuse me. No, no, no. You are here, I'm here. No, 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 no. Respect him. Understand that he has earned his stripes and let him know, boss, you are boss. So, I mean, okay. That's how
Yeah.
I learned how to speak it. It's from wanting to achieve things. Anyway.
All right. We have one more question. We take just one final question. And then we call it a day today. It's been so engaging and so amazing, right? I have Idowu Opelua. His question is, how do we rise back up to a room we have previously allowed imposter syndrome to throw us off? Wow.
Hmm.
This is a very, very deep, intense question. Thank you for asking this question. Where over to you, Ma. How do we rise back up to a room we have previously allowed imposter syndrome to throw us off? Or maybe even positions or opportunities? Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. There are some rooms that you will not be able to get back into. That's the truth.
Hmm.
But you can build yourself to a place where when opportunity comes, you are ready to seize it by the throat.
Hmm.
There are some opportunities that it's gone, it's gone. Don't waste your time or your life crying over the spilt milk or rehashing it. That's something else that I think it's important to say. One of the things that reinforces imposter syndrome is when you go back and you keep thinking about the wrong things that you've done, the mistakes that you've made. No, 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 no. Do what KSA said. Instead, remind yourself of the good that you have done instead. Speak positive into your own to yourself. So don't go back thinking, oh, I wish, this was a mistake. It's gone. It's gone. Don't go for an interview, come back and start thinking, so maybe I should have said this, maybe I should have done that. Let grace take over from where you are. So let's start from there. You have fallen from a place. Imposter syndrome has thrown you out. First and foremost, forget the one that has gone, unless it's an opportunity that is still open. So if, for example, it's a project that is still open, you can still volunteer for it. But if it's an opportunity that is gone, don't waste life and don't waste your time rehashing and wishing. No, let us build from where we are. Start to get yourself ready for the next opportunities and take the steps that we've said here. I said it, laugh at yourself. That's how I messed up. Sha. Hey, me.
Hmm.
Anyway, it's gone. That one don't go. That one don't go. Nice one, nice one. Let's go. Let's go. What are we doing next? Get yourself
Wow.
seriously. Go back
I
and
love that, right?
I need
I
to do
love that.
this. I need to do that. Get yourself ready for the next opportunity. And the next time you get an opportunity, grab it and do your best.
Wow. Wow, so good. I mean, Ope, that was really good. Thank you for bringing that out. You know, sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. Number one, I say this to people: regret is a useless energy. It has nothing to of value to give to you. Remember, we are focused on being very valuable humans, seeing value in others, and I mean, but first from ourselves, because the truth is that most of us see others from our own inner mirrors, and that's the truth. If
I
you're
love
a
that. I'm going to write that down.
awesome, if you're a thoughtful human, you keep seeing people from that mirror, right? So first, it's focused on being valuable humans. If you develop value, you see, there are some energies that I've lost the capacity for. One is envy, right? I don't see somebody's post somebody doing well, or maybe my colleague, my mates is doing well, then I start feeling like, oh, why is your own life like this? What have you achieved? You know, what have you done with your certificates? And you start speaking. You know, sometimes people need to show some compassion to themselves. Show some self-compassion to yourself. Treat yourself like you would do to your best friend, like you would talk to your best friend. So, for example, this platform you said, let's say, for example, you missed out on. If your friend had come to you, what will you say to them? You said, "Oh, Kwele, they try you." Sorry, I'm speaking about. Speak to yourself. You speak to them in a nice way. Show some compassion. Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't worry, we can do it next time. But when we come to ourselves, we criticize ourselves ridiculously. It's difficult for us to show compassion to yourself. You know, sometimes it's easier. Default is will be to tend to want to say negative things. When will you ever get anything right? You are just a failure and say things like that. So we start from there, you know, because one of the things I always like from this platform is that we take something back, right? Start from training yourself to speak positively to yourself, regardless of the situation, right? Where you missed it, you failed at something or not, speak positively to yourself. Again, the goal is to focus on being a valuable person, being a better person that you are today than you were yesterday. No matter the depths of the failure of the opportunities that you missed yesterday. Yesterday is gone, unfortunately. There's nothing you can do about it. Regret is a useless energy. There's no point regretting anything. Make up your mind that every morning that you have, the greatest opportunity of all existence is to be alive. Forget about the opportunities you missed. No matter how there's no the opportunities. How do I put it? I think when we are talking, I talked about the Access Bank MD that died. It's gone. It's gone. And guess what? Access Bank continued. The greatest value of existence is the human life. The greatest opportunity that any one of us would ever have is to be alive. So when you wake up in the morning and you can still breathe in fresh air, it's another opportunity for you to be a better person, a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. So it doesn't matter the opportunities that you missed. None of it can be compared to the opportunity to be alive to see a new day start again. Just like Mr. Diola said, oh, where are we picking it up from today? Don't take yourself too seriously. Like I always tell people that me, I'm on seriously serious. I can be on seriously serious, and I can be seriously unserious, right? So sometimes don't take yourself, don't be too hard on yourself. Show some compassion on yourself. Your greatest opportunity is that you're alive. Les Brown's quote. I wish somebody can put up that quote on this comment section, because that quote is so, so powerful, right? That each one of us came to this earth naked. God just gave us one thing, breath. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to maximize? That's the opportunity, the greatest opportunity you were given. So regardless of whatever you lose, you can always choose every day to be a better version of yourself. All right. And focused on being a valuable person, a person of value. Focus on who you are as a person, not exactly what you are. The what will come. There's something you wrote here, which is Okpeyemi. I'm going to bring it up now. He said something about Okoyemi says, I want to bring it up. It says value goes in the direction of value. Or what did you say? Okay. Ah, oh goodness, because of time. All right, he said value creation would always uh, create a room for you. Value creation would always create a room for you. And I always say this to people as well that recognition would always go in the direction of value. Recognition, wealth, influence, power will go in the direction of value. And that's the truth. The money, what the significance about $10 is not, the value is not in the paper. The value is what you can exchange it for. The value of $10 is not in the paper. It's not, it's just a figure. I can say I have $10 billion in my account. Do I have it? Can I buy a Bugatti with it? I can't. What interprets or converts that thing to value, that money, that cash to value, is what you can exchange it with. If you focus on being a valuable person, hey, recognition will come to you. Wealth will come to you. Influence will come to you. The only reason why I can have the privilege to be connected to, look at our time, it's one and a half, we need to round up now, to someone like Mr. Adiola Olumeyo is, of course, because I believe that I mean, I'm also a person of value, and I see it in her. Again, we see people from the mirror on our inside, right? So I could see that in her, and she could also see me as well. Otherwise, if I had sent her invite, she would have rejected it. Sorry, I don't want to be associated with you. Okay, I'll read these few more points and there we go. Regurgitating wrong things you have done or the mistakes that you made reinforces imposter syndrome. Please remember this. Regurgitating wrong things you have done or the mistakes that you made reinforces imposter syndrome. Think positive. And finally, we have here coping with imposter syndrome. One, laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously, right? Get yourself ready for the next opportunity. Yes. Number three, grab the next opportunity with both hands. I love that. All right. And as we round up this evening, I just want to say that please do follow the YouTube page and subscribe to it so that you can keep in touch with the next sessions as they come. Again, my commitment, again, my name is Kemi Sope-Agbebi. I get to be called KSA, and my commitment is to push through the narrative of the human value and how we can actually emphasize the place of raising holistic humans that are well rounded spiritually, where their mindsets are concerned, and all of that. Guess what? My next guest, you don't want to miss it. My next guest is ID Kabasa. Mrs. Olumaya, do you know ID Kabasa? Do you know him?
Absolutely. Not personally.
Okay,
Hopefully
I
that's not
get that.
for
I
me,
just wanted to be
but
sure that
I hear the name. I hear the
yeah,
name. I just wanted to show
amazing.
me up as being as an OG.
Exactly. But so please, you don't want to miss that. That's
Is
also
that
going to
the
be
producer of Nice, right?
yes, yes, that's it. That's ID Kabasa, right? So please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're not following me yet on Instagram, please do at the BKSA. At this point, I just want to say thank you so much, Mrs. Adiola Olumeyo, for gracing this platform. I really do appreciate you, right? I can't wait to host you again because definitely I'm going to have you back. It's been so good. I want you guys to just drop comment and say thank you to Mrs. Adiola, even as we round up right now. I know that on IG Live, I can't see the comments on IG Live, but if you can, please just type on YouTube. This is amazing. We should be paying for this. That's why we say value exchange, but it's coming on a platter of gold. And I hope that each one of us have picked one thing that, at least one thing that will be a seed that we can go and plant. And the purpose of a seed is not for you to bury it, it's that you plant it. And you plant it so that it can grow and yield fruits. It's not to bury it. So you can acquire knowledge, be in a room full of knowledge, but there's nothing that you're translating it to, right? So, but that's not the goal of this. The goal is for you to pass the torch, to pass the baton, that you get to work on Monday and say, you know what, I was in this IGI session and they were talking about imposter syndrome. And a woman called Mrs. Adiola. She talked about my knees. Do you know that you tell your friend, you pass on the torch? Not everybody will have the privilege to have a platform like this or to have a voice like this. But in your own little way, you could go on your WhatsApp and say, "Hey, I learned about my knees today," and this and that. So the goal of a seed is not for you to bury it, but for you to plant it. And by planting it, you are ensuring that it germinates and it produces fruits that other people can benefit from. And that way, we keep passing the torch. Hopefully, we can actually contribute meaningfully to the human race. All right. On this note, I want to thank you all for being here. I had a good time, Mr. Diola. Do you have any final words in 30 seconds? And then we go.
I just want to thank everybody that has allowed me to share your evening with you. And yes, I do pray that in everything that you do, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep
Amen.
you, the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and upon your way. And for those who might have been feeling any imposter syndrome, do know that your value is not where you are, but your value is who you are. And who you are has
Where
been
you're
determined
going to.
by
Hmm.
God.
Hmm.
And that is not something any man can change. Don't give the power to your thoughts or to anyone to change you from being that fantastic person that God has made you to be. I look forward to
Wow.
celebrating your success.
Wow. 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 So good. So deep. Thank you so much, Ma. I really do appreciate you. Um, have a lovely evening, everyone. Um, thank you and see you at the next session. All right. Bye bye, Ma. Love you. Mwah. All righty.